Welcome to Madoka Magicast, a podcast devoted to the dark magical girl anime Puella Magi Madoka Magica. I'm your host Amanda, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Yasha and Vanna.
Hi!
They're the owners of the biggest revolutionary girl Utena website, Empty Movement, and I'm just some rando from the internet who owns a meme blog about Sailor Moon.
Look.
And this is the podcast where they watch the Madoka Magica anime for the first time ever, along with me, a longtime fan, and we talk about what we like and don't like about the show. And here we are at episode 10.
And there's not going to be a lot of don't like about this. This is a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
This is some of the best 25 minutes of anime I've ever seen in any anime.
That is valid.
It is so tightly written, and
yeah, they don't waste a damn second.
Not a damn second is wasted, and at the same time, it's so full of character details and characterization for the entire cast.
And the great thing about it is it's not even like characterization that quite carries over. The conditions of it are so bizarre that it's almost like you're seeing like character development by way of possibilities.
Yeah, you're seeing
not
different sides
how
of
people
them.
turned out.
Character development by way of AU. This is Madoka AU within Madoka.
This is AU fanfic within the show.
In a good way.
In a good way.
Not like Anne Rice fanfic of Lestat, which is terrible.
Sad. Well,
yeah.
we know why she got pissy about people writing fanfic.
Because she wanted to write it all herself.
Yeah, and they were better at it.
That too. Sorry, shitting on Anne Rice is too easy.
Oh no, I know exactly what you mean, don't worry. So this is episode 10, I Won't Depend on Anyone Anymore. Written by our boy Gen. Storyboarded by Shinsaku Sasaki. Directed by Yuki Yase. And animation directed by Yoshiaki Ito and Kazuya Shiotsuki.
I think we've seen all those names before,
we have.
haven't we?
Yeah, these are returning staff members.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This is the Make Amanda Cry episode, which I did when we watched it on the live stream with everyone.
Nice.
Although when I reviewed it today, I did not cry. So that was a
progress
success for
moment
me.
for
Yeah,
You transferred it over to me because I was tearing up while we were reviewing. I'm sitting there like, what?
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah,
this is a
it
powerful
is.
episode.
It is.
Yeah. Before we get into that, we should probably do a little bit of a few announcements.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, so let me back up. The Patreon was posted for the first time on our Twitter yesterday, which was a Wednesday. And episode 8 was put up for patrons only a day early, which was that our one awesome patron, Willie Vanilli, who somehow found the Patreon before it was
Just was looking for shit.
Yeah. So, when people hear this, it'll be officially 2 weeks after the Patreon gets posted. But, here we are mentioning it has come out. Information about the tier rewards is incomplete on the page. It will likely be updated by the time people listen to this. I'm sorry, I just didn't have the time to get it all together. But basically, the minimum pledge is $2, and I went with $2 because the cut that Patreon pays, or the Patreon takes, the difference between $1 and $2 is pretty minimal, but it makes a big difference when it comes to the cut that they take. Mm-hmm. So does that make sense? So,
yeah.
I hope people don't mind that we do request you donate at least $2 a month, because too much of it goes to Patreon otherwise, and it's not really supporting us as much as it could be. Mm-hmm. And then I just want to briefly mention the tiers. The $5 tier is the Madoka Magicast heart-shaped button pins that our friend Erlins has designed for us. I still haven't posted that, but that's also going to be coming very soon because it's just part of me giving people information about what these tiers are. And then we also have additional tiers above $5 for submitting questions to the show, getting a custom chibi, like the kind that I drew for the podcast of us dressed as magical girl characters. There's a tier where you can commission me for one of those. And then there's like a thank you tier where you don't get anything else for giving us so much money a month, but other than an awesome name and all the previous tiers rewards, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I limited that at 4 because I don't think we should have more than that many people giving us money every month.
Probably.
Yeah, this does not need to be $1,000 a month Patreon, guys. It's just enough to help pay for the cost of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully people are checking that out, and there'll be more information on there when this comes out. You can visit it at patreon.com/MadokaMagicast. And thank you ahead of time to everyone who has or will sign up for the Patreon before this comes out. We cannot read your names on the show yet. We also have an update on our idea of doing a little PDF zine for our Rebellion drinks.
Yeah. Yes. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah, we had a listener send us an email telling us that she is a hobby. I think if I'm remembering correctly. Sorry if I'm not. She told us she's basically a hobbyist mixologist. Hi, Sam. And see, Sam says thank you too. And she's offered to basically just think up a few quick drinks for us. We did ask her to, maybe don't include too many expensive ingredients because we don't want to break our bank here getting drunk during this movie. And I think we requested some bitters for Homer's drink. But yeah, so thank you to her. I actually don't know if she wants her name read out loud on the show or not, so maybe I'll just leave that out for now and give her credit later. When I find that out. But yeah, thank you. You know who you are.
That'd be awesome.
And look on the Twitter for more information about that coming up. Okay, now we have one more thing before I wanted to get to the episode. So as I mentioned, episode 8 came out today. That's the one where Sayaka turns into a witch. We get the big witch reveal. And a YouTube user named, Winsome Mastic, I think, who has an Evangelion icon. They left some comments for us while they were listening to the episode that I thought were worth mentioning and acknowledging. First, they said, really fun revisiting the series with you guys. Sayaka 100% murdered those dudes. Her descent as a character is the highlight of the series to me. Then they go on. Side note, the ma in Majo doesn't mean magic, it means devil or evil spirit. Same as in Mao, which means the demon king. So Majo breaks down to demon woman essentially. The word for magic used in Japanese contains the kanji because it sort of translates to demonic practices. So, thank you. You are correct. It kind of is associated with the English word magic, but the kanji itself actually means demon. Although I don't know if it necessarily has a negative connotation, maho, in Japanese. That's just a different origin for that kanji than what I was remembering. So thank you for that correction.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool.
I didn't know that.
I don't know, that makes me think of like what if magical girls were demons? I've got a big thinky face on right now.
Isn't No.
Well, Kyubey did nothing wrong.
I mean,
Oh no, I was
an
environmentalist.
environmentalist.
Have not done anything wrong either.
Kyubey is an environmentalist. He's just thinking on a bigger scale than
he's a card carrying member of PETA.
Yes.
Oh, actually, he definitely isn't at all a member of PETA.
No.
Yeah, don't they care about lesser animals?
He's more like one of those environmentalists that'll chain things to trees to keep people from cutting them down, kind of stuff.
The PETA thing works. If you look into their practices, absolutely the PETA thing.
I don't know. That's kind of
that's too depressing. Yeah, we're not going to get into that too much. But anyway. No, as far as the demon thing goes, though, I was
so it's baked into the idea of magical girls a little bit,
kind of, but I wasn't really thinking of it
into the idea of magic itself in Japanese.
Yeah, because when you say demon I'm thinking in Japanese, demon is more like
an evil spirit, kind of.
Yeah, more like a spirit thing than specifically
or an oni, which is more like a monster.
Yeah. Because it doesn't seem to me from how they use it, that it would have the same negative connotation as if you were calling someone a demon witch or something here.
Yeah. And then they had one more thing to mention, and this is the part that I really wanted to mention because I thought it was a good observation. It said, I think the trauma is the thought that her body isn't her anymore. She had just experienced having her ghost yanked from her shell, which I can imagine anyone being deeply disturbed by. I'd guess that's an enormously disassociative experience. Furthermore, up until that point, the gem was a thing that she cared for because it gave her powers. Then, suddenly, the corruption of the gem is her corruption. There are a lot of reasons to be concerned and mortified by this revelation. I found it pretty convincing. Also worth noting that the Faustian bargain isn't even subtly referenced in the show. Faustus quotes are written on the walls in several scenes. In that vein, Sayaka has made a Faustian bargain without even knowing that she'd put her soul on the line. This is true, however, I do want to remind you that they're written in German and or witch script. So
we were strictly forbidden from hearing about them.
Yeah, because you're right. They did. If you can read German, or if you look up the translation for the witch script, then yeah, it's a little bit. It's not subtle, but it is in other languages. So I don't know if it's that.
So the show like just straight up equates the two.
Yeah,
it doesn't bother with subterfuge at that point.
Yeah.
So thank you for those comics, Winsome Mastics. Really appreciate the correction and hearing your thoughts. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that take on why Sayaka is so upset. I guess maybe just a few extra lines of dialogue, kind of fleshing that out, might have helped us.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like, it's like the periphery of the idea is built up, but they never quite.
Yeah, they never quite bring it to that point, and seem to rely on just, my body is not mine anymore, that kind of thing, as like the
well,
whole
also
thing.
the upcoming, like, this episode kind of throws into a different idea of what I think actually makes the witches, because like we were reviewing it and it seemed to me like with Sayaka, she's got this just sink into despair and there's like nothing when she turns. But then scenes in this episode where Madoka knows she's becoming a witch, but she's still like, I still think there's hope and blah, 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 blah. And so like, it almost seemed like based on the pattern set by Sayaka, Madoka was becoming a witch for not much reason.
Let's save that for
when we
get there
like
recap.
It's in that sense because it makes me curious about Sayaka's becoming a witch too, kind of.
Yeah, there were
more
a
like
couple of questions I had about that as well. But I mean, it seems like we're going to pick through these timelines pretty thoroughly. So let's
we are.
let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. It's okay.
Maybe we should just go ahead and get started here.
Of course. I don't know. It might be worth mentioning that this is probably a two-parter.
Well, we'll see what happens here.
I mean, if it turns out not to be, then Panda can cut this part out. But this is probably a two-parter.
It's at the very least going to be really long, so maybe better to be two smaller ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's longer than 2 hours, I'll tell Panda to split it up. And I think it's very likely that it's going to be longer than 2 hours.
Yeah, because we have lots of words.
Yes,
many words
and feels.
And lots of witches and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
I got a lot to say about those witches.
I'm here for this.
All right, so let's get started here. So our cold open is not so much a cold open as the episode just starting, because you'll notice later that the opening doesn't play until the end, and it's basically the end credits for this episode. So we open cold on Homura standing in front of her classroom, introducing herself to the class. And immediately, this is Homura but not Homura, because she's anxious, she's nervous, she's clinging to her book bag very fearfully, and she's wearing red glasses, and she has her hair braided into 2 pigtails. And she's very shy. So it's clearly her, but also it's like not the same person at all that we've known this whole time.
She's like a trope pushed almost to like past impossibility. Like
I don't know.
It's totally possible, but it's also like holy.
Look, This whole episode just gets into weird territory for me because I used to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't like, to me, this is all super, super relatable. I was painfully shy. I was painfully dorky. All of that. Like, so when I saw Homura acting like that, I'm like, holy shit, it actually is me.
Aww.
But yeah, so I don't even know if this is pushed past believability because I was there, man.
I was there too, honestly. Yeah. And I had a very similar relationship when I was in middle school with what I mean, I wouldn't have sold my soul for her, but I had a similar relationship in middle school where, you know, a lot of my like emotional support was coming from her instead of anybody else. Mm-hmm. So I also understand what you mean. Like, this is a very relatable episode, and that's probably why it hits me very hard when I watch it.
Yeah. That's definitely fair.
Yeah. So a bunch of girls in class, like, kind of swarm around Homura. They seem to be very curious about her. They all seem to think that she's very pretty, and they keep asking her about what her last school was, and, you know, do you play any sports, and wow, your hair is so smooth. What kind of shampoo do you use? And
yeah, like, they're not mean.
They're not mean crowding at all. Yeah, they're being very nice to her. But Homura is
holy shit, that would be terrible.
Yeah, Homura is terrified. And Madoka swoops in and says, you know, it's a break between classes. Don't you need to go to the nurse's office to take your medicine? I'm the nurse's aide, so I'll show you where it is. So that's how Homura knew that she was the nurse's aide in the first episode.
Yeah.
In case you were wondering. So,
but how does Madoka know when she has to take her medicine?
She's making it up to get her away from the crowd.
Is that, like, that's the implication, I guess?
That's the impression I got, is that she knew that this girl was, like, freaking out and peeled her off from the crowd with a good excuse.
Yeah, that's fair.
The crowd, by the way, in that shot, the crowd is, like, slightly off-center, and in the background is Mami and Sayaka.
Yeah.
Talking.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't swarm, and they're kind of watching, like,
Why is Mami in their class?
She's there.
Oh, I mean, no. Why, did you mean Hitomi?
I mean, sorry, yeah, Hitomi.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So Madoka chats with her while they walk around in the hallways. She's trying to be friendly and reassuring. They introduce each other. Homura seems very taken aback by Madoka's, like, friendly attitude. And especially, Homura is embarrassed by her weird name, and Madoka instead is like, no, it's so cool, I love it. And Homura gets all blush you. She does a blush you. And she's flattered that Madoka's being this nice to her. And she calls her, like, Homura-chan in Japanese. So which is very informal and very friendly. So Madoka's basically welcoming her as a friend immediately, like, unconditionally, without them even knowing each other yet.
There's an interesting moment here while they're walking when Madoka, like, turns on her heel to look back at her.
And it's exactly the same shot
from
exactly
the opening.
The same motion from the first episode.
Except at that time it was Homura. So
yeah. It's just a nice parallel.
Yeah, there's a lot of little light touches like that are really great.
Yeah.
Oh, and she says the trigger words, you should be cool to match your name.
Well, shouldn't we all?
So, back in class, Homura is told to try to solve some math problems on the board, and
that shot is the same again, too.
Yeah. She's basically frozen because she can't complete the problems because she's been in the hospital for so long. She's behind on studying. And then she has the same problem in PE class. Her health is so poor that she can't keep up with, like, doing laps and exercising. And the other kids are, like, talking about her, and she's having a hard time on her first day back from school.
Aww.
Yeah, that's what I get from this.
Poor Baby Homura. Yeah. And then we get a cut to her on a bridge. Which
we know what's going to come when we see a bridge.
Yeah, it's the descent into hell yet again, and this time the hell is her own self-loathing and her suicidal thoughts, which were kind of, I guess, antagonized by Madoka saying, "Hey, well, you should become cool like your name."
Yeah, and as we see, this witch plays that up too.
Yeah, I could definitely.
No, well, she does, because this is weird. Because this witch starts talking to her.
Well, I think this probably happens with all the victims.
Oh, you think so? They can hear?
Yeah, so, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we don't really see what happens to people that approach the witches on their own. Yeah. Well, he said that, this was communicated to her as a good thing and all this stuff. So, yeah, it's not the first time a witch was communicating with
that's a good point.
A victim.
Yeah, and even in the first episode, it doesn't make sense for there to be no communications, because why? It's not like their emotional state just suddenly plummets. It's somebody inserting thoughts into their head.
Yeah,
right.
Like luring them into their own despair sort of thing.
I feel like the voices are similar enough that maybe Homura doesn't even notice that it's the witch talking to her and not her thinking. I very much
get the impression that's often the case.
Yeah.
Like the witch becomes the devil on your shoulder whispering all the worst things in your ear.
But that would make sense.
Kind of in your own voice.
Yeah.
It's you doing it too, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Or you enabling it.
So I'm not sure if people realize that the witch is talking to them, but the witch does talk to them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
All the time. Anyway, she starts to question whether this is the way she's always going to be. And then she finds herself
in Guernica.
Yeah, literally walking over the painting Guernica.
Picasso's Guernica. When you guys want to tell us a little bit about Guernica in case the listeners aren't familiar with it?
Well, all I really know is I saw it once. And all I really know is I saw it once and that it's about war and that it's pretty yikes.
It's probably one of the more well-known.
Yeah.
Probably the most well-known Picasso, I would imagine.
Yeah,
there's other references to art
because it's very. That one is very visceral. I feel like people kind of feel that's the best version of his. Yeah.
Yeah, when we went to
his art style,
the Museum of Modern Art in New York, we saw it there. It was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it's
bigger than I thought.
It's a painting of World War II, I think, or of people dying in World War II is what I remember it being something.
Yeah, I don't
know
too much of the history.
I don't remember
myself.
the specific battle, but it was definitely. It's definitely you don't even really think about it. You just see it and you go, "Oh, it's war." Yeah, there's people dying and a dead horse in it, and
and it's only in black and white.
Black and white.
Yeah. Oh, and so she's walking over Guernica.
Which we get I feel like Gen Urobuchi and Guernica get along well.
The sky is reminiscent of Van Gogh's Starry Night, and then we get the Arc de Triomphe, which is actually the witch in this. I think.
Except the evil Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I just keep on thinking this is Paris.
Shitty Paris.
Well, yeah, but
there's a sign you paused and it almost looks like it's supposed to look like a tree, but it also looks like those signs that direct you in various directions.
Yeah,
fantasy trope.
So
I was actually kind of looking at the people and the style of dress that seems to be on these sketchy minions, I guess, or whatever that come out. Just I don't know. It looks like old-fashioned clothing, like you would see in paintings, but it's just sketched. But there's a lot of art references here. I wouldn't be surprised if each of these minions is a reference to a particular sketch either. So the witch, though, Isabel, the artist witch. Her nature is vanity. Without a slightest doubt, she believes her existence is blessed. Wanting someone to see her work, she often interferes with the human world. However, within her barrier only exist works that you have probably seen somewhere before. To defeat this witch, just bring a well-known critic with you.
Is she like a toreador then?
A what?
She just made a White Wolf joke.
Sorry.
So for the 4 people out there, we do know White Wolf, but for the rest of you, that's from a vampire role-playing game, where there was basically a clan of artist vampires.
Except that they're not really able to create anything unique or great on their own.
Some of them
aren't.
They were split into 2, the artists and the posers.
Oh, my take home from them was that they pretended they were artists, but really weren't that good at it, and that's kind of what she is she's not really an artist on her own. Which, I guess if you were a garbage artist, you would become a witch.
Yeah.
It seems like a pretty straight shot.
I feel like this witch was pretty clearly a girl who made a wish to be a famous artist.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that's what it seems like.
Maybe based on the wording of her wish or something else, like she got fame, but it didn't work out the way she wanted it to go, or or her when people did see her artwork, they were like, oh, this is actually shitty artwork. So she was famous, but people were criticizing her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
So then we get Homer about to be killed by familiars when Madoka and Mami show up.
It's so fucking cool when they show up. The music comes on and
they're like badass.
Yeah. and
it's the first time you see the fucking cupcake dress.
Yeah.
Yep.
Seeing her there in the dress, it's like, whoa.
Wait a second. I don't know, Amanda, did you notice Vanna keeps on calling Madoka's dress the cupcake dress?
Yeah, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're called?
I just want to point that out.
I learned it on Toddlers and Tiaras.
Yeah, because that's a pageant dress style.
That's the only reason I know what that is a pageant dress that they put on pageant girls a lot to make them look
I know.
Super cute.
Now, listen, it probably has some Lolita fashion connections in terms of Japanese culture.
So,
definitely.
Yeah. But that's why she's calling it a cupcake dress.
Yeah, that's
I just wanted to out her there.
So,
you know, I can't think of a better way to describe Madoka's dress than say it's a cupcake.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a cupcake
really
dress.
Is. But she's just it's cute because they're being badass and working together, even though it's kind of established that's not either of their best.
And we get Mommy's excellent music again.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And then we go back to her house.
Yep. Go back to Mommy's place
and the decor is the same.
Yep. And they kind of explain to her what's going on.
This is a clear mirror of that same scene in episode 2 where Mommy explains to Madoka and Sayaka the same stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean their dessert is different, I think, but that's about it.
So do we ever find out what it is Madoka wishes for when she becomes a magical girl this early?
Would you like me to tell you?
Is it revealed in the show?
No, it's not.
Okay,
then yes.
Yeah.
This is another one of those things that's in a drama CD or an interview or and you only really know if you read the wiki. So you know how in the opening where she's got the black cat and she's crying and smiling at the same time?
Yeah.
So in this first original timeline, her wish was to bring a dead kitten back to life that got hit by a car.
Aww.
Yeah.
I mean,
so that's why she's holding that cat in the opening. And you know what it is? If I had to guess, it's a similar thing to what we saw in the early episodes where she really just wanted to be a magical girl. And
so she took whatever.
So she was like, well, you know what? I'll bring this poor kitten back to life. And here we are, Mammy. Now I'm a magical girl. Let's go do stuff together like we wanted. You know, I think if I had to guess, that's probably kind of like what happened with that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It was...
So the implication here, though, is that, like, just to keep the timeline straight in my head, is that Homura met her, and then there was an unspecified time skip in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then Madoka became a magical girl.
Yes.
And then there was another unspecified time skip.
Yeah.
And then the whole battle with the switch happens.
Yes.
Which is not really how it's presented in the show. It's like the implication
gets messed up,
in the show.
In the next timeline scene, though.
Yeah,
I will help explain it for you guys when we get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's just once we hit the timeline, you know, rejiggering pretty much. We'll get there. Anyway, I just wanted to keep that straight in my head because the show implies that there isn't a time skip and this is kind of all happening the same day, which kind of leads you to believe that Madoka is all confident and happy and everything because she's already a magical girl.
Yeah.
But the time doesn't quite work out for that.
This is a major role reversal.
There's a couple possibilities there, though. Because it could also be that, you know, in the original timeline, the period between when she wakes up and when she goes to the school is
that's
longer.
Fair too. That's fair too.
As each iteration of the timeline becomes more like, oh, she's already a magical girl, you get to where she, like, literally jumps out of the bed because she has no time.
Yeah, that's fair.
And goes and warns Madoka just enough for Madoka to be like, I should think about this, instead of just being like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
just enough to delay to where we get into the show.
It's just one of those things my brain hung up on is, wait, how much time actually did pass?
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm guessing happened.
Yeah, I can help you guys sort it out as we go on if you want. Because I think I could probably explain it, yeah.
Okay, so Madoka explains that she only made the contract a week ago, and Mommy is the veteran as usual. And Homura asks whether she's scared, but Madoka says that the fear and effort is worth it because they save people, which is a very Madoka thing to say.
Madoka is all hell.
And Homura is very impressed by that answer. Like, she smiles.
Yes.
She really...
Which is something that you don't see Homura do.
Yeah, I think that's like the second smile I've seen from her the entire show.
So,
but Mommy, then says something, because she says, oh yeah, it's over there. I didn't see at the bottom of the screen. That Walpurgisnacht is coming, so Mommy knew about that.
Yeah, that was one thing that I was also curious about, is how come Mommy knows that Walpurgisnacht is coming, but then later on we don't hear any, or not later on in Homura's personal timeline, which is earlier on in the show's timeline. How come we don't hear Mommy say anything about that?
I honestly don't know. It's possible that all of that stuff in the series' timeline happens before she learned about Walpurgis Night, and that scene happened like a few days later after she somehow found out about it. So like maybe in the series timeline she dies before she gets that information.
Yeah, you know, I always when we were watching the first episodes, I don't know, I think I probably even mentioned this, I got the impression that Mommy was kind of being the opposite of Homura in that she was deliberately going out of her way to bring in more magical girls. Like, she says sometimes we don't get along, but she's like I almost got this impression that though she's nice and she's motherly and she's, you know, One, all that kind of stuff.
One-sama.
Yeah. But also there was kind of a she was doing more legwork bringing them in than Kyubey was, and I kind of wonder if she didn't already know about Walpurgisnacht, but didn't say anything, because why would you volunteer that information to
people who haven't made contracts
right
yet.
And Mommy was very clear about listen, you need to think about this. So Mommy's not participating in Kyubey's let me do everything I can to coerce these girls into making a bad decision, you know. So if she knew ahead of time that Walpurgisnacht was coming, she might have actually not told them about that in the hopes that they wouldn't take that into consideration.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think, is that she already knew about Walpurgisnacht in that storyline too. It's just that she was taking a different approach to dealing with it.
Yeah, that would definitely make sense for me.
Yeah.
How she learned about it in the first place, who knows?
Who the hell knows?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Who knows? Kyubey might have said something, who knows? Because he seems to know about it too. But, being as Madoka was already a magical girl, she had no reason not to bring it up. But yeah, she never mentions it because at that point she's the only one there that's a magical girl.
Yeah.
So I'm going on the assumption she always knew and was choosing when to bring it up.
When to bring it up, yeah.
Well, you wouldn't want to bring it up before you land your contracts.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. And I don't think Mommy got the impression that Homura was going to become a magical girl. Exactly.
No, yeah.
Yeah, some of the implications kind of point away from that.
Anyway. There's kind of a, sense that I don't know if this one's really magical girl material.
Yeah.
Which, turns out to be very much the case. But in a way. Cool. Oh, hey. So we
skip
smash
ahead.
Cut to fucking destruction.
Yeah.
And obviously this is Walpurgisnacht, who is a creature with horns, wrapped horns, upside down on a set of gears.
Yeah.
And it's the set of gears you see in the opening, and now you actually see what it's attached to, and it's clearly this giant miserable witch that I'm guessing is Witch Dracula or something.
And she's got a spinning circle of runes around her too.
Yeah, which looks super like the things in Hoseki no Kuni. I got very strong Lunarian vibes from that spinning thing behind her.
I haven't seen
She hasn't seen it, so
Kuni.
she doesn't know. It's the one anime
I've seen the sizzle reels where the animation is really great.
Yeah. It's really cool. And she does have this huge blue dress that
is
clearly the kind of dress that a magical girl might have worn at some point. Like,
except it's full length.
Except it's full length and it's more grown up looking because she's now a witch, you know.
Yeah.
Witches grow up and all.
It is a little bit medieval looking too.
Yeah.
It's got the long flowing sleeves, and you know, I associate that kind of pointed hat with like the pointed princess hats, like the stereotypical.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what this is? It's like an adult magical girl outfit.
Yeah.
Almost.
Pretty much. Like, and that's okay. Going back to pageant stuff for a second.
Yikers.
Cupcake dresses are for little girls.
Yes,
usually.
that's why they're...
And older girls get longer dresses.
Full, like, gowns and stuff.
Like, I'm not saying that is where this came from. I'm saying, like, that's probably the whole, like, not even that pageant dresses are the root of the fashion, but that whole Lolita and pageant and all of that kind of came from that same archetype.
Yeah.
So.
Except at different age groups.
Yeah.
And this is also, so far, like, one of the only witches that's, like, animated, and there's no Gen Urubuchi really anywhere much.
Oh, you like, mean Inukuri?
Inukuri, yeah. Sorry. Because there's, like, the crest behind her and stuff, but other than that, she's I don't want to say more conventional, but, you know, there isn't a lot of trippy shit around her. It's just wholesale fucking destruction.
I'd like a closer look.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we only get these faraway shots from her right now.
I mean, it's possible that they're in a labyrinth right now in this shot, because...
That's kind of what I'm wondering about, though, because the framing and everything does not indicate that. Like, it's pieces of flying buildings, there's, like... Because the witches' labyrinths are so visually distinct from everything else, and this doesn't look like they're in a possible space. This looks like they're in the middle of their city watching it get trashed.
But it's still so strange, because there is stuff floating in the air, and you'll see in several other shots that some kind of gigantic tree has sprouted from out of the ground, and they're standing on platforms in this tree.
Yeah, this is like a tree house almost.
Maybe this is some kind of blurring the line between a labyrinth
and
real world.
Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Well, because also they kind of, like, later on, Kyubey is going to say that Madoka is going to destroy the world as a witch, which... You know, the witches, like, lure people into their labyrinths and eat them up, and it's sad and bad and all that kind of stuff. But you don't get the impression up to this point that the witches are seriously negatively affecting the physical space around them.
Yeah.
Like, they're not destroying buildings, they're not blowing up stuff, they're not... Yeah. It's a different kind of destruction, whereas this is just destruction.
That's the other thing. Well, I'll save it for the end of... another timeline, but I've got a comment, like another expansion on this whole theme of whether it happens in real life.
I just remembered something that is relevant to this. In the episode where Homura and Kyoko are planning to attack Walpurgisnacht together, Homura mentions something about how Walpurgisnacht is so strong that she doesn't have to hide in the labyrinth.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, you're right.
So
well, there you go.
Yeah, so it's not a labyrinth, I guess.
This is
the real world.
Yeah.
She just straight up warps reality.
Yeah.
She's just messing everything up. And at this point, so, like, we're seeing her, and then we kind of jump to this treehouse thing that they're all standing on, this platform. Mami is clearly dead already, and Madoka's gonna go fight on her own, and Kyoko's off somewhere. I don't think you see her in this timeline.
I don't think she's in this
timeline. They might not even meet her in this timeline. Because the only time she moves in, the reason she moved in the series timeline is because Mami died and there was territory for her to move into.
Oh, that's right, too.
Yeah.
So in this case, we don't really see her. Mami is dead, and Madoka's like, well, then I guess it's just me, because that's what magical girls do. And Homura is begging her to not go and say, there's no reason for you to just die like this. And Madoka's like, nope, there is. I'm a magical girl. I'm gonna go do this instead. And on one hand, I guess it's either going to be go fight or perish anyway, since this witch is destroying everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
So she really isn't in a position to do it or not. So she does go off and do it. But the way she goes away after saying, she says, I'm glad I met you, you're a good friend, blah, 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 blah. All that really nice mushy stuff that we all love.
That Vanna skims right over.
Skimming right over. No, it's very touching. And
I love it.
It's cute. It's like, this saving you is the kind of reason I became a magical girl, stuff like that. But when she says goodbye, she's got that, like, a different look on her face. Like, it's very clear she knows she's not gonna live.
Yeah.
And, you know, she doesn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because of course not.
The contrast between the two of them here is so well
Strong.
illustrated, because Homer is like, listen, let's just run away. Like, who fucking cares? No one would blame you if you just ran away right now. This is hopeless, so let's just leave. And Madoka's like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna die, but I'm a magical girl, and this is my responsibility, and I gotta go and do that. So,
yeah.
See you later. You know?
So she does.
Yeah.
And then when you jump to the fact that she, like, to her death, you see her hand in the water, and you see it again in the next timeline where their hands are
with
like
their
the same
goofy-
shot, but
there's
with
okay.
Yeah. So you
This
see
one-
evolutions of that shot.
This one is her hand with no soul gem.
With no soul gem, but it's also her
the
hand
next
alone.
one is her hand alone with a soul gem.
Yep.
The next
And
one
then,
after that is their
so you
hands
keep building
together.
on that shot with each
Yeah.
timeline, like kind of
which is a really cool.
improvement.
That's a really.
I
cool
also
shot.
do kind of want to point out this set of shots is super Evangelion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
In I think it's episode 23 of Evangelion is the Kaoru episode.
Yeah.
Where he meets
Where
him
you meet
in
him
that
and he's standing
lake.
on the
Yeah.
That's
what
exactly
this
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Is that lake?
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
I mean, you know, naturally.
This is
Also,
what I was. Wait a second.
Kyubey is invisible
Wait a second. Yes.
in this
but,
set of shots.
But this is what I wanted to use to expand on what we were talking about, whether this is in the real world or not. The witch is dead. This is the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is how much destruction was left behind. So, yeah, like this they necessarily, it had to be the real world that they were in the beginning.
Yeah.
Was what I was kind of getting at with that.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't, then where are they now? Kind of thing. But
Totally.
she's right. I didn't notice that before, but Kyubey is sitting on top of that rock, only
Where
half
Kaoru
visible.
did, but he's only half visible because you can see the buildings behind him.
Yeah.
And you kind of wonder if, like, and you know what? Actually, no, there's no wondering. The messaging there is he knows that this one's about to croak and this one is about to be ready to make a wish, so he's kind of like
I'll just
waiting,
hang back
waiting
for a
in the
second.
rafters where nobody's going to see him or notice him
And
until
then he
his
can
moment
swoop
arrives.
down.
Swoop
Swooping is
bad.
Anyway.
But, so, in this time, so this is also like the timeline where, while Purgisnacht is defeated, and that's good, but it costs Madoka, and Homer is just not fucking okay with that. She says, there's no point in having saved me if you're not here, and I want you back. And Kyubey, all in Pizzable pants, becomes solid in the shot.
Yep.
And literally is just like, oh, hey, I'm here. Want to make a deal?
What
And,
a
I mean, of
shithead.
course, but he does frame it differently than he did with the other magical girls.
Mm-hmm.
In that he does say, you know, are you willing to let your soul be the cost? Like, it's worded much more like a Faustian bargain
Yeah.
this time.
But, I mean,
But-
Homura already knows this is a Faustian bargain
Yeah.
because she
already knows
that
what their
this
fate is
going
anyway.
to happen.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she
So he's
doesn't
got
know
less-
yet about soul gems, you know,
Yeah.
hatching into witches. She doesn't know any of that yet.
But she does
already
know what
knows
this looks
that
like.
this is the end result of what's going on.
Yeah.
Also,
she already knows there's a cost.
I love this shot because it mirrors back to that shot of Madoka over Sayaka's body crying in pretty much the same position.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. There's a lot of, like, you could probably
Callbacks.
tear through half of this episode finding shot callbacks and
Yeah.
stuff like that, which is just awesome. But Kyubey shows up in her moment of weakness and offers to make her a deal, and she does in the way that all of the magical girls seem to, in that it's a very quick moment sort of decision. But her wish is a strange one. She wants to redo meeting Madoka and make it so that she could save her this time. Which I guess is like kind of the end result and evolution of earlier when you first meet, when Madoka first meets her, says you should become cool to match your name.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of like a bit of that in her mind where she wants to be cool enough to save Madoka.
Mm-hmm.
She's realized what she wants that coolness to look like.
Yeah, and this is Kyubey, like, what's the worst time for me to ask this question about what they want to wish for?
Yeah, he always shows up at the worst possible moment.
And
But
this is another thing where it's like, why didn't you just wish for her to come back to life? But that's not what's going through Homura's head right now.
Yeah.
She's blaming herself for what is going on.
Yeah.
You know?
and she also wants to have come across, like I feel like half of that wish is about Madoka, and half of that wish is more about her. Because there's I want to save Madoka, but there's kind of a sense of, like,
shame.
I want to save Madoka by being cool and good, and this is, like, that's kind of like the selfish motive for it. It's not that she necessarily wants Madoka to live under any circumstance, but she wants Madoka to live by her living up to being able to do that.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't even say is selfish. It's kind of like, I wish I didn't suck, and I also want this person to survive, but it is also kind of inherently selfish.
Theory time.
Oh, sure.
All of these girls have had a selfish aspect to their wishes.
Yes.
So I'm gonna guess that this isn't completely depressing and terrible in the end, and that the good guys win. So, theory being that the wish that Madoka eventually makes is actually unselfish.
Yeah. Well, they've been building to that. Like,
but
she's gonna make the least selfish wish, and, like, but that's also why she's going to be the most powerful witch once she turns.
Yeah.
It's like high stakes, high profit kind of thing.
Well, I mean, Kyubey seems to think she's going to be the most powerful magical girl and the most powerful witch, regardless of what her wish is.
We are going to see what happens with that.
Yeah, I have a feeling
come up in the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, I figured. I just, like, that's the thing that I'm thinking might be the key that unlocks this whole knot, is that it is truly unselfish.
Yeah. That's going to come up again in another one of the timelines, too.
That's
right. Me to bring that up. But
I also want to talk about Homura's wish a little bit more in the sense that, yes, it's selfish, yes, it's poorly worded, but had she just wished Madoka to be alive again, Madoka would have ended up turning into a witch anyway.
Right.
Because she would have still been a magical girl.
So in a way, yes, it's selfish and it's poorly worded, but her selfishness and her poor wording actually gave them a chance to fix the entire thing.
Right.
Instead of just...
instead of just bringing her back into being a magical girl.
Yeah.
And Madoka was happy to give her life for this.
Yeah, she was.
Which isn't what Homura wanted her to be saying in this situation.
Yeah.
You know?
Homura is kind of doing an I know what's best for you thing.
But in this case, I would argue that it does kind of actually work out best, even if it's not what it works out
best, but not because of what she intended, but because her wish inherently built in the possibility of Madoka never becoming a magical girl in the first place. Mm-hmm. And on some level, I think it's because she is aware that this death was probably inevitable as a magical girl. Mm-hmm. So I can see on some level she is thinking in terms of, like, what if she was never a magical girl in the first place, but I don't think she was calculating it to that extent.
I think, if anything, that would have been super subconscious at that point. Like, because
but it was there enough for her to pick a wish that had that possibility in it.
Yeah.
So...
Because, I mean, the first thing she does next round is she celebrates because, yay, I'm going to be a magical girl,
exactly. Too. Like, she doesn't quite take that tack at first.
It's so sad.
It's so sad.
But she's
no,
so
like
happy, and then by the end of that timeline, she's so
it's just
sad.
A disaster.
The other thing I want to point out about her wish here is that she says, I want to become strong enough to protect her. Which...
Okay, Utena. Good job.
No, this...
Yes, it's different. I know.
We're gonna go with the weird recursive time cycles thing. Homura in this is implied to be very weak.
Yeah. Oh no, she's a complete just trash fire. She's terrible.
Totally.
However, there is a possibility that this wish kind of spiraled in on itself, so that every time she goes round and fails, she gets stronger.
Well, she doesn't seem to lose anything she gains on each trip.
No,
exactly. She goes back and already knows how to make bombs. She goes back, like...
And she's got her freaking arsenal.
Basically, her wish has baked into her life scale, not necessarily timeline, but her life, the time to develop the strength to do whatever she needs to do.
Which means that the more times she goes through this, the stronger she'll get.
Kyubey's interpretation of her wish being enacted. Because she doesn't specify, I want to keep reliving these 30 days over and over and over and over and over.
I don't think Kyubey specifies it either,
Well, he gives it, like, by making it a literal time reset that she can go back and it's not...
Do you think he has that much control over the wishes?
Yes.
I don't know. I kind of see him like, as in just like a conduit for...
He... Maybe it's not like how he did it exactly, but by making it like a Groundhog Day situation where she keeps replaying the same story over and over and over and over and over, you've unnaturally extended her life into a length where she can develop the skills to do what she needs to do in the time span of 30 days, when it sounds like she's been at this for... She could have been doing this for like 5 years. We don't know how long she's been doing this.
There's an actual canon answer for that.
Oh, there is?
Oh, really?
Gen Ricci said in an interview that she reset time over 100 times.
Yeah. So there you go.
Which counts out to over 8 years. So she's actually, like, mentally an adult in her early 20s during the series.
I'm sure that is going to provide a great rationale for some of the merchandise we'll see later. But I know. But yeah, but that's the requirement for her to satisfy her wish. Is she such a weakling that she can't become strong enough to protect Madoka with less than 8 years of training?
But it also
is what I'm saying.
Basically assures her success.
Yeah.
Because every time she fails, she just
can't fail. But something interesting about that, though, is it is something she does on her own strength. And we've gotten a fair bit into this episode without feeding our friend.
Oscar.
What?
Oscar.
Incoming Utena reference.
Incoming Utena reference. Well, there's the whole, like, in Utena, there's this idea of, like, this weak, helpless girl. She's saved by Akiobe. Oh, that doesn't work.
Oh, no, that doesn't. It doesn't.
Okay, never mind. You know what? No, I'll own that. But he saves her, and the thing about it is, a deceit of the show is that she keeps getting lifted up under false pretenses multiple times. Like, it's well into the show before Utena actually does anything entirely on her own power. Either, she has the Sword of Dios, which is really just an extension of Akio and Anthy's will, etc., etc., etc. So, like, her growth is almost illusory until a point. Whereas this is like a contrast in the sense that, her wish was to become strong enough to protect Madoka, and her wish is satisfied very literally in the sense that, oh no, I'm not going to make you powerful enough to do it. Like, she's given a magical girl skill, obviously.
Yeah.
But she's not falsely made powerful enough to do it. She's forced to live long enough, over and over enough, to become powerful enough on her own. Like, it's different sort of, there's no deceit to her building herself up the same way, which I find interesting.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of like, there's a bit of a different kind of flavor of girl power there. Like, it took her this long, but she does get to where she does on her own 2 feet, even though the person she becomes in the process is and thinking of her as, like, in her 20s makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you're in your 20s, more or less, you do stomp around the 14-year-old girls like, look, I got shit to do.
I ain't got time for this.
And that is how she shows up. She's like, I just got shit to do, and you all are annoying.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see that, and I do like that her progress is forced to be her own, even if she didn't necessarily mean it that way. Even if it's an inherently selfish and poorly worded wish. But it is also a wish that ties very heavily into the whole process of magical girls and all of that, because of how much influence she ends up having.
Yeah.
So she's kind of that trope where she's the weakling, but she becomes the greatest fighter kind of thing.
Yeah, there's one more thing I want to point out before we need to move on, I think. But I think one of the flaws of this wish relates back to a lot of what was going on between Sayaka and Kyoko. Because Kyoko's thing was like, listen, you and I made wishes without knowing what the other person actually wanted.
Yep.
And Homura is pretty much doing the same thing here.
Yep.
Because, like I mentioned earlier, Madoka is completely content giving her life up to protect other people. She was outgoing and happy and had confidence. She was confident. She was happy to do it. She had no hesitation. And Homura makes this wish thinking it's for Madoka, but she's making the wish without really thinking about what Madoka would have wanted. So she's falling into the exact same problem that Sayaka and Kyoko had.
Big dumbass Uchiha mood there.
And if you want to think about it, it's kind of the same problem that Mami also had, because she wished to stay alive when probably what she really wanted was for her family back and to not be alone.
Else. Yeah.
You know?
She wasn't specific enough on that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a sense of that, and boy do you see that as the episode progresses.
Yeah.
Is that each iteration of this timeline, Madoka gets less and less confident with herself. Yeah. By the time, like, the girl you meet in the main timeline in our episode, she's halfway to being Homura herself. She's shy, she's like, she thinks she sucks, she thinks she has no value, she's just sort of awkward, and I kind of wonder, because she repeatedly says things like, I just feel so useless, and like I'm just tagging along and all that, and it's almost like on some level there's like, she knew she would, like, it's almost like she knew at some point she was acting and helping. Like, I kind of wonder if there isn't a little bit of like,
well, I mean, she did know that she had met Homura before, so yeah, there's probably some memory there of having once been more active and stronger.
But yeah, it's definitely that whole the same situation over again, and you can kind of see the price of it, because the person that Madoka progressively gets with each iteration is less happy, and that's probably not what Homura wanted, but it's what she's getting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
So she gets jumped back 30 days.
Yes, she jumps back 30 days after she makes her wish. She wakes up in her hospital bed before she even, introduces herself in class. And you can see there's a calendar on the wall. So this is part of what I wanted to say about, like, maybe helping explain the timeline here a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I see. So there's that week that I was talking about that I was thinking was somewhere.
There's a calendar on the wall that has her, we see that today is if you translate the Japanese characters here, we see that today, the 16th, is the day she's getting discharged from the hospital. And then there's another day, the 25th, where it says she's going back to school. So she has 9 days before she goes back to school.
However, she has 2 days before Madoka's going to make her wish.
Yeah, something like that.
Because
she said she had made her wish a week earlier. So she has not yet made a wish at the time she wakes up after resetting the timeline, but she basically has to do something very quickly in order to get her to not do it.
Yeah. But Madoka says, does she say that on the first day that she made her wish a week ago?
I guess there is.
They don't specify.
There is some ambiguity as to whether she got attacked by a witch on the same day that she transferred into school or not. I could kind of interpreted it that way, but it's not necessarily that clear.
The way this is being set up, it's presuming that it happens the same day. Because that's why...
Yeah, that's the implication.
That's the reason that she bounds out of bed.
Well, that still doesn't work out by the time it hits our timeline, when she goes the first day of school, and she has not yet made her wish.
Yes, but I think it's also possible that she just goes to school early.
Yeah, I think that's... Yeah. Well, in this timeline, she's not going to go... Because, like, say she wakes up on the 16th, she gets discharged on the 16th, first day of school is the 25th, assuming she meets the witch that same day on the way home from school, Madoka made her wish a week prior on the 18th, say. I think in this next timeline, Homura is not going to go intervene there, because she's going to go wait until she goes to school and then jump Madoka like, yay, I'm a magical girl too now. She hasn't quite figured out that it's the being a magical girl that really needs to fucking go. And it's when she decides that she starts bounding out of bed and doing, like, weird shit like killing Kyubey so that Madoka can't make the choice that...
But Madoka doesn't even get her first warning from Homura until the first day of school.
But that's not the first day of school for her.
It's the first day of school for Homura, which is the one that's circled on the chart there.
Oh!
Yeah. I'm kind of just like,
I'm confused.
There's no way to reconcile this.
Okay, what she's saying is in the first episode, Madoka starts out with the dream about Walpurgis Nacht, right?
Yes.
She wakes up, she goes to school, and meets Homura all at the same time.
That's the same day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She went to school early.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I think happened is, instead of her going to school on the 25th and meeting Madoka after she's made her wish, she's going to school on the 18th and bounding the fuck out of bed
on the 16th
to meet her early.
I thought you guys were saying, like, it's everybody's first day of school.
No.
Which was where I was, like, straight up going, no, that doesn't work.
She's going to spend a week at home before she goes to school.
Yeah, she's a transfer student.
Yeah. So I think that's what's happening is with each iteration, once she decides that Madoka's just not going to become a magical girl at all, she's going back to school early.
Yeah.
Like at a different date, and that's how that's panning out.
That still doesn't quite make sense with the details.
How
because
so?
Everything happens in the same order afterwards. Like I said, I don't think that there's a way to quite reconcile it. I want to think that there is, but I don't think so. You know what?
I'm going to say there probably is, because some nerd has probably already broken this down, because this has a very curative fandom.
Yeah, it does. Which is kind of why I want to skip over the rest of the arguing about it.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a ton.
I think that it's pretty... you can work it out, but it is confusing.
You just roll with it. You just roll with it.
Yeah.
The only reason that I'm saying I don't think you can quite reconcile it is because everything seems to happen in the same order, and things that are not necessarily affected by Homura are still happening in the same order as when her first timeline panned out.
Yeah,
it's one of those like
maybe
implication
a little
things.
earlier.
Yeah,
possibly, but why would they happen earlier if Homura never affected them?
Well, because she's in school earlier, so she sets that whole chain of events happening earlier.
Yeah. Mami was already well and truly a magical girl at this point anyway.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the everyday stuff, like the problems she does in math that she memorizes, the things that she does in track and field, like those things that are totally mundane are still the exact same things happening over and over.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So, I don't think it's a huge thing. I just don't think it can 100% reconcile.
Yeah. But, so assuming her first day of school is always the same.
I just wanted to say that. I know you disagree with me, Amanda.
It's okay.
I know you're still trying to work it out,
yeah.
But it's honestly not worth this much
conversation.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
So
there's a perfectly rational explanation for all
this. So she wakes up in her hospital bed. The calendar says she hasn't been discharged yet, and that her first day of school is coming up the next week. She looks down into her hand, and she's got a soul gem. So she says to herself, wow, like it wasn't a dream, this is real. So we see her going to the first day of school. She's smiling, she's excited, she's clearly much more confident than she was 10 minutes ago in the episode. And right in the middle of the teacher introducing her to the class, she just walks right up to Madoka at her desk and grabs her hands. And she's like,
very intimate.
Look, I'm here now, Miss Kaname, and I'm a magical girl just like you. And Madoka is very... She's either
embarrassed.
She's either embarrassed or she has no idea what's going on. I'm gonna guess that she's embarrassed because this is probably the same transfer day as last cycle. Mm-hmm. So she's probably already
because she is already a magical girl.
Yeah.
So,
and she's just so happy and so vibrant, so
cute.
ready. Yeah, it's really.
And
cute.
you're like, they're so fucked.
Yeah. So we have a cool scene here where.
They're under a bridge.
They're under a bridge. Bridge watch.
Bridge watch, but they're under the bridge. Yeah. So what does that mean?
I don't know. They were under the bridge when they were looking for, when Kyoko and Madoka were looking for Sayaka's witch. You remember that scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were under a bridge too. What does it mean?
Very strange.
My thinky face on here.
So she does a little bit of training with her time powers, where we see, this is basically where they show us how it works, kind of, for the first time. So she stops time, and it's raining, so all the rain stops. And then she's got a golf club, so this is her first use of, like, just a regular item as a weapon. And while the time is stopped, she beats on, like, a metal oil barrel.
It's a disaster, too.
And every time she hits it, it doesn't really move, it just changes position, like, because time is stopped. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And she hits it and hits it and hits it, beats it up, and then turns time back on. And once she's done, it's all messed up and twisted. And she's all out of breath, and Mommy's there. And Mommy's like, she has time-stopping powers, it's amazing, but she really needs to learn how to figure it out. And one more thing, like, when time is stopped and she hits the oil barrel for the first time, like she swings and misses and trips very clumsily. And then she gets back up and does it again and actually hits it. And she smiles and she's like so happy that she hit the wall.
I know.
Oh,
it's so cute.
So cute.
Like, oh, Ruby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she hears Mommy saying, like, she needs to understand how to use it in battle. And then we cut to Homerus in her house looking up how to make bombs on the internet.
Because you could do that.
I mean, you can.
Her being edgy McEdge pants. So yeah, she learns how to make bombs, which I guess is also something that Mommy does, in that she ends up learning a different power too, because her main one was the ribbons.
Yeah.
She like, learns to use the guns later.
But that's a different magic power, where this is just straight up, I guess I'm making pipe bombs now.
Yeah,
well,
like you can stop time, but what you do while the time stops is another question.
I would say that she does kind of find a new way to use her power, because she can basically use her shield as like a hammer space now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was necessarily like her original point of her power. Kind of in the same way the ribbon wasn't necessarily meant to.
I was kind of wondering about that.
Yeah.
Like, she can use her shield to cart things around in, but how does that relate to time magic? I mean, I guess they don't necessarily have to have any relation
Ultimately,
to each other.
there are, like, well, it's she's doing the same thing that Kyoko does. Kyoko doesn't have get free shit magic.
I mean,
but she can
might
use it that way. And Homura learns that, like, little by little too, because you see her finally realize that she can just fucking not use glasses.
Well, there's also there's also like, now I don't know anything about this topic, so please correct me if necessary. But isn't it also like a thing like time and space are connected, and they're kind of like
that's kind of what I was getting at there.
Yeah.
Which that so it might not necessarily be a different power at all.
Just a new way to use her original power.
The super, for dummies version of that is, if you're thinking of it at, like, that level, time is just the next dimension.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's almost like it's a physical space of its own. So really all Homer is now able to do is jump from, like, a 3-dimensional to a 4-dimensional world that she can navigate in.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Exactly.
So it's more of a just new perception more than it is, ooh, I'm messing with time.
Yeah.
It's her still messing with a physical space, but it's a physical space only she gets at, because the rest of us have no way to navigate
so then
it.
How does
She's
that
in a
apply to
tesseract, like in the end of Interstellar.
So then what you're saying is basically her shield has a tiny tesseract in it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
It's got dilithium crystals in it.
It generates 1.21 gigawatts of power.
When you
it
guys were
the
talking
tax,
about Kyoko, not necessarily being able to magically summon food, it reminded me of a stupid interview I read with one of the people who was in New Trek, where he just basically, I can't remember what his name is. It's the guy who played Sulu in the New Trek movies.
John Cho.
Yeah, John Cho. Where apparently now he has weed summoning abilities, where he can just be like, "Where my weed at?" in a crowd, and somebody will hand him a joint.
Wow.
He was in, what's that movie?
Harold and
Kumar,
stuff,
yeah.
Yeah. He was a comedian.
Yeah. So, I mean,
this is definitely the power Kyoko wants.
Yes. Where my Taki at? And someone just walks up and
exactly. hands her Taiyaki or whatever she wants.
Exactly.
But no, I do like that Homer's, like, skill is not a very obvious one. It is totally the kind of skill that the weak person has.
I mean, it reflects her wish in a weird way, because her wish is not
to go back.
Outcome.
The reading of her wish on surface level only is very straightforward, but it's got all of those little kinks and crenellations in it that suddenly change it into something entirely different, and her power is the same way too.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a pretty dope-ass power to end up with, though. You just have to learn to use it, which she does.
Yep.
Yeah. And we jump to Patricia, and, like, you start out on all of these clotheslines with chairs and desks falling around.
Major chair
about
watch.
you.
Chairs falling out of the freaking sky.
Yeah, I thought there was, like, a Kappa zombie coming.
This witch is so cool.
This witch is fucked. You have the chairs falling, you have the clothesline, then you have, like, it looks like skates that are falling
yeah,
as well.
the
like
minions
legs
are wearing skates.
Yeah, are wearing skates. The witch herself is super like Silent Hill 2 energy.
Yeah.
In that she's like arms and legs attached. Who is the artist that's all based on?
Belmer. Hans Belmer.
Yeah, very, very that. Where it's like arms and legs
Have
and they're
you
not
ever
quite
seen
matched
his
together
stuff, Amanda?
properly.
What is it?
Hans Belmer? Have you ever
I've
seen
never,
his stuff?
let me Google it right now.
Yeah,
Hans Belmer.
Here, I will also Google.
But like what he did with it was like he took like dolls, like mannequins and things like that, and rearranged them in like fucked up creepy ways, or did weird things to them so that they were just legs, or their arms and their legs were crossed and stuff like that. Weird things like that. And that is exactly what this witch is literally that.
I like this.
So,
I'm
yeah.
looking at
it's
this stuff
neat
right
stuff.
now. Very weird.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
no,
weird. Definitely.
Honestly, it's some of the most impactful stuff that I've seen in Silent Hill, and that's got a lot of cultural penetration.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised this is probably a Belmer reference by way of Silent Hill.
I am sad to have to get back on this horse, but holy cow,
Yeah.
that's a little, especially with the way
yeah,
this
she's
witch
gonna
dies,
throw a bomb
that's
into
a little,
her crotch.
Yeah, that's
which is,
a little
thanks.
sexualized, and even Belmer's stuff is
Very
Sexual.
sexual.
extremely sexual.
I'm looking at it right
very
now, and
sexual.
it's pretty hard to avoid.
Yeah. So, I had hoped that was kind of
But we
gone,
are back
but,
here.
Well,
I mean,
listen,
since we're dealing with...
if the show's going to make any other sexual references, isn't this a
The witches
bit
are the
different?
place to do it.
Isn't
Yeah.
an
this
art
is
reference
different.
a bit different than
Absolutely,
Yeah,
no.
I think this
It
is
is-
on
it is-
a different level. I think,
And it's different
Slightly,
to sexualize the witches than the children, because
That's
the witches
very
are
true.
implied to basically
Yeah.
be grown up,
Yeah.
ruined ass
I'm
versions
not-
of the girls anyway.
I'm not saying that this is 100% exactly the way it was before, because honestly, it doesn't feel that way to me either. It's just, I'm kind of
You
I
know
had
what
hoped
it is?
that we didn't have to deal with that
I
anymore.
like this. And here's why. In the first few episodes where we were bitching about there being kind of weird, creepy sexual stuff with the girls, and it was still this is what you all showed up for, and this is what you want.
Yeah.
And then they took that away and did their storytelling, because fuck you, now you're invested, and we're not here to, let you sexualize these girls after all. And now we're returning to the sex, but the sex is warped, horrifying, and does not involve the girls, it's the witches.
yeah.
So it's kind of like a progression of, this is what you wanted,
That's fair.
and
That's
this is
fair.
what you deserve. Fuck
That
you.
makes me feel a little bit better about it, actually.
It's more of a, you showed up for male gazy shit, but it's now horrifying,
yeah,
weird.
now you're gonna get body horror
Yeah, you're gonna
instead.
get body
Enjoy.
horror instead.
Yeah.
Have fun.
So,
Take it.
Yeah.
okay. I can
So-
get behind that.
Yeah, I can
then.
agree with that too.
Yeah.
That's kind of the impression I'm getting. So this witch is named Patricia, the witch of class presidents. Her nature is an idle onlooker. She spits out spider-like thread to create a school, all for herself and her barrier sky. This witch was very plain even in her previous life, with her only strong point being how conscientious she was. She still detachedly plays out an ordinary, everyday life, hardly any different before, hardly even any fun. With the witch's familiars that she puppets around. If you ring the end-of-school bell, this witch will likely return to her home somewhere. Humans who lose their way in her barrier will fall ever downward until they eventually melt into an empty sky and become nourishment for the witch. Unless you're a particularly fearsome outsider who disrupts her everyday life, this witch will rarely take action herself. Witch's minions are schoolgirls with schoolgirl legs and skirts wearing ice skates. Her labyrinth is just a huge sky with tons of clothing, and the school desks also rain from the sky. So, once you say class president, that makes a lot more sense, because all of the clothing on the clotheslines are uniforms.
Yeah.
The school desks falling down, all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally a girl who had her head in the clouds in life.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I could see that too.
Not really accomplishing anything. And Mommy uses her power to make ribbons that pull that become a braid bridge kind of thing, using the clotheslines. And then Homer jumps onto this bridge of ribbon to run up to the witch, and that's how they're fighting her. So it's kind of, now it's got to be a teamwork thing, but even with this bridge made, Homer is panting and panting as she runs.
She's so cute and clumsy and awkward as she runs. She's so different from the Homer and the rest of the show.
I know. It's so oh girl.
Yeah.
I'm
You
sorry,
tried.
the grenade in between arm, legs, or whatever
still
gets a little
some
sigh.
imagery.
Yeah.
No, it's some imagery. I don't mind it. Like I said, at this point, I think the sexualization is an act of aggression against the audience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is
So
fine.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that. It's just like,
yep.
You get shots like that so often.
You do.
And it's
kind of cute because, like, at this point, you know, Madoka and Mame are basically setting her up to kill the witch herself.
Mm-hmm.
But it does work. Like, it's a teamwork thing that works because as long as you can get the bomb in the witch's mouth, you're done. You know?
The witch's
get
mouth.
it?
Yeah, no, I get it.
I was trying I was doing a thing.
You were,
but
doing
it is kind of almost like, you know, and then Madoka's so excited and she's jumping and she's hugging, you know, Homura for defeating this witch that she was, you know, clearly helped with.
Yeah,
it's kind of cute.
Basically,
it's so
what
cute.
This is like Mama Cat.
It
half
is
killing a mouse and then giving it to her babies to tear apart.
That is exactly what it is.
Yes, it is.
It's like, see, you're learning pat, pat, pat. Aww.
We get
Madoka
another
basically
blush.
glomps Homura.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we just smash cut to the hand again, but like you said, now it has the gem, but the gem is clearly fading.
Yeah.
And, you want to take over from here?
Yeah. Do you want me to take over?
Yeah,
All right.
you can do the depressing part.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so the soul gem has turned black.
It's already a grief seed, actually, but with a little ribbon on it.
I mean,
her
it
hairs.
turns into a grief seed during the shot.
Yeah.
I was starting before that, okay?
Oh, okay.
So the soul gem is turned black, and Homura doesn't know what the fuck is going on, and it turns into a grief seed, and then explodes.
Into a witch,
she
a
becomes
huge witch.
basically a mountain. Like, there's a face on her witch for a second there, but then...
And then it's Mount Doom. Like, it looks like...
Yeah,
it's so weird.
But anyway, so this is Kriemhild Gretchen, Witch of Salvation. Her nature is mercy. She absorbs any life on the planet into her newly created heaven, her barrier. The only way to defeat this witch is to make the world free of misfortune. If there's no grief in this world, she will believe this world is already a heaven. Kriemhild is a figure from Norse mythology. It means battle or mask. Gretchen is the name of Faust's lover in Faust. She dies and comes back later in the story to guide Faust's soul to heaven. So,
that's topical.
Homura,
That is very topical.
Yep.
Is this also, like... But she does defeat the witch this time. But now you get an even worse outcome, because in the first outcome...
was her dying.
She dies... Which sucks, but she dies. Now she turns into a witch, which sucks more.
Yeah.
So like, each iteration, the outcome is getting worse and worse instead of
not
better.
necessarily.
Well,
the next one after this feels a little bit less bad for reasons.
But it still keeps being.
Yeah.
What?
No, it's
the
still
one
not
after
enough,
this is
but...
less bad?
Yeah, the one
Disagree. Hard
I
agree.
It's less bad in the sense that no witch defeats Earth.
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, Earth still exists.
I guess in terms of Homura's perspective, it's definitely not less bad.
Yeah,
no, Homura's perspective, it's way worse, but that's just one person.
Yeah, versus I'm talking in terms of like the outcome of Earth.
Yeah,
you know, we still kind of trashed their city, but at this point, Madoka is the second impact, so we're done.
Pretty
now,
much.
There is one thing I wanted to bring up here, because we're seeing Madoka turn into a witch here, and it's pretty different from how Sayaka turned into a witch.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really is.
So it looks more like... So what I'm thinking is they're sort of the same thing, just getting to different points. So I still think that the ultimate thing that has to happen for you to turn into a witch is for your soul gem to become completely black. Now, whether you do that because you're miserable and therefore ignoring your responsibility to cleanse it, which is what Sayaka did, or you use up so much of your magic at one time that you have nothing left, regardless of which path you take to get there, I think that what ultimately matters is your soul gem turning black.
I have a question.
Yeah,
that makes sense because they come to it definitely by different routes.
Yeah.
I do have a question still, though. Was it said earlier that to become a witch, most girls end up killing people? Was that a most girls, or was that an all girls? Like, because Sayaka killed the 2 guys on the train,
Yeah.
and then she became a witch. So, is there blood sacrifice necessary for this or
Okay,
not?
here's I'm gonna just
Sure.
put like a
Sure.
thought
Yeah.
there. I'm going to say that Maruka's outcome here is the exception that proves the rule insofar as the grief seed just running out of steam and creating a witch. But I suspect the vast majority of magical girls arrive at it by way of Sayaka, where it's still the soul gem needs to turn black and not get recharged and thus grief seed. But the reason it does that is because the magical girl is swinging into depression and losing faith and all of that kind of stuff.
That is exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens by route of the breaking down of the psyche of the girl way more often than it's going to be something like this where you beat something so big it sucked all your energy out.
Yeah, and I was going to also say that there is a possibility that, because that came from Mommy, right? That information came from Mommy, and Mommy did not know what she was talking about when it came to these details. So it's possible that that's like a half-truth that Kyubey told her when she asked him where witches come from. And he's like, oh, well, actually, if you gotta make sure you kill the familiars, because if a few people die, it turns into a witch. And he could have worded that in such a way where it was technically true, but he also, like, wasn't telling her the full story.
That's fair, but that's kind of adjacent, almost, because I remember when we were talking specifically about Sayaka, not about Mommy and familiars. Familiars I can see, oh, well, they kill a few people and then they evolve into a witch, whatever. But I remember it being said that, and I can't remember the exact wording, but it was something like either all magical girls or most magical girls, and I don't know which one, have to, end up killing somebody before they become a witch. And so I was wondering whether that's necessary or whether it's not.
Maybe the magical girls that despair and die without killing people.
Yeah, I think you're thinking back to details that were a little bit muddled before we knew the whole truth.
Right. Okay. Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't said in the show itself. I'm fairly sure it was something that we said in discussion.
Well, I mean, it might have been one of my red herrings that I was trying to throw to you guys.
That is also true.
That's fair.
We might be trying to make a lie work.
Yeah, but that's why I was like, wait a second. But Madoka didn't kill anybody, so how come she's becoming a witch?
We don't really know that. There's a lot of desolation in that crime.
I'm not even sure that this idea that the familiars turn into witches is actually true. That could entirely be a misconception of the magical girls in an attempt to explain where the heck all these witches are coming from, you know?
Yeah.
So it's possible that is just like a game of telephone. Like there's a rumor among them, like, hey, do you know how these witches even get here? Well, I don't know. I heard something about how a few people have to die before a witch is born, or you know what I mean? Like, it's a product of them trying to figure it out. So if I had to guess, you don't technically have to kill people to turn into a witch, but it's like Yasha was saying, where like probably in most circumstances that descent into despair and cursing the world comes with killing people.
That was Vana who said that.
I'm sorry, Vana.
Yeah, it's
fine. I've gotten way better at that. I usually remember.
You have.
I can usually tell between the two of you now.
No, if it's somebody asking an annoying, picky question, it's probably Asha.
Okay.
That is true. So yeah, like I am kind of unclear on that, and I'm probably going to end up Googling that because there is something in play there. Because Kyoko is noted to wait on familiars until they're witches. So, are all the witches made for magical girls? Is there something else that
No,
can
it seems
become
like they have their
witches in
own
time?
kind of asexual fission reproduction.
Yeah,
I
so I'm
don't
not
know.
sure what's in play there.
Yeah.
But Kyoko clearly had a bit of a farm going, so there is some principle by which that works. But who cares? Eventually, I'm just gonna roll with it and be like, "This is fine and makes sense."
Yes,
but
it took us about 2 years for us to do that with Utena. So
yeah. But it does make sense though that like Madoka becomes the worst witch.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole equal opposites. Thing in play.
Yeah,
and that's the other thing that and. Actually, if I'm going to attribute any, like, this is probably how this works most of all, it's what Sayaka says, or it's basically, you know, you become a witch when you're basically balancing the scale of the good you've done with
all the bad that you're
So Madoka becomes the worst witch because she's done the most good. She saved literally the world. Unfortunately, that means that the debt she owes to balance things out.
Yeah.
So I feel like in this situation, she's the worst witch, not because she's the most altruistic magical girl, but because she has the largest debt to pay.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
So anyway, getting back to the scene, Homura is shocked by the fact that Madoka turned into a witch. You know what? Actually, I would love a better look at Madoka as a witch. The crime-heeled Gretchen.
Yeah, do we get a better look at her at any point?
I don't think so.
I do think, I think there's the one timeline at the end that ends with her as a witch again.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's already the looming Tower of Mordor there.
Yeah. At any rate,
actually, I kind of like it that you don't see exactly what she looks like.
Yeah, I think
that
she is a looming Tower of Mordor. Like, that's what she is. Like, there is no
hey, that's true!
Yeah.
The world becomes Mordor.
But, I just mean, like, in the sense of, I would like to actually see on a paper or illustration or in a wiki somewhere or whatever. Like, I'd like to actually take a look at that sometime. But anyway, Homura is shocked by the fact that she turns into a witch, gets mad because Kyubey tricked them, and
then we restart. Because she's like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like this little graphic for when she goes back in time.
Yeah, that's cool.
And this time her pupils, like, constrict really hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the whole thing is just
She's
costing
horrified.
her more each time she does this.
Yep. And so she decides to tell them.
Yeah. Why don't you go for this one, seeing as we did a lot of talking?
So, Homura is like, oh my god, Kyubey tricked us. And it cuts to a scene of her trying to explain this to the other girls, and Sayaka's here. So here's our first timeline with Sayaka as a magical girl.
Yep.
And, of course, Sayaka doesn't believe anything that she says. Nope. So Sayaka is doing her denial, putting her head in the sand, digging her heels in the dirt. She accuses Homura of lying about Kyubey in order to turn them all against him. And she even accuses her of working together with Kyoko, because, this is how Sayaka is so rigid that these are the kind of explanations she has to come up with to handle information she doesn't like,
Yeah, she's very angry.
Yeah, so she's being pretty, Homura's doing her best here, trying to warn them, and it gets shut down by Sayaka, basically.
Sayaka's being kind of cunty.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty hard on Sayaka. Honestly. I do like her a lot, but she is a force of chaos in this show when it comes to, like, stuff getting resolved.
I feel like they're clearly implying she's already on her way at this point. Like, the way she's acting, because she isn't quite like this at the beginning.
No, she's
not. This is more end-stage Sayaka, so you kind of get the impression that we're already observing the road.
Stage 4 Sayaka.
Yeah.
She's incurable at this point. Yeah,
she's not far from killing those dudes on the train. I think at this point.
Yeah, Madoka tells Sayaka, hey, listen, you need to stop picking a fight here. And Sayaka says, well, you know what? I refuse to team up with Homura because I'm a close-range fighter, unlike you guys, and her bombs keep going off in my face, and I almost keep getting blown up, so I'm not going to work with her anyway.
I mean, that's pretty fair.
Which is valid, though.
So, Mommy says, are there any weapons you can use other than that? And Homura steals a bunch of guns from the Yakuza.
Nice.
Hell yeah!
This is just
like my girl.
That's my girl.
Yep.
Like swords, no. Guns, yes, guns.
Yeah.
Yep.
This sucks.
And we get to see her using her little tesseract.
Yeah, her little bag of holding here.
Military grade weapons here.
Yeah, the bullet. These are probably all of the guns they own.
Yeah. Alright, why don't we make this the official episode break and say, come back next time for part 2 of episode 10 of Madoka Magicast.
Go for it!
Alright.
Follow us on Madoka Magicast on Twitter and Tumblr, and check out our Patreon, Madoka Magicast.
Yep, come see us shitposting on Empty Movement.
Yeah, come see me shitposting on Sailor Shitpost.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I guess this episode for 2 weeks, damn it. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't think we should do a full plug for this one.
No.
We'll see you next time.
Come back next week.
Yeah.
Yes. Bye.